Hello, and we are with legendary voice actor for Ryo Hazuki. We are joined by Corey Marshall. Corey, thanks for joining us today.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure to see you guys again.
Yeah, we were just talking before we went on air that it's been like 2 years since we last had you on. I gotta say, it does not feel that long, but man, time has gone by pretty quick.
Yeah, time flies when crazy things are happening, I guess. So.
I was actually watching the podcast too, the one that you did 2 years ago, and the last thing you guys said was we'll talk again when when Shenmue 3 comes out. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I remember.
Oh, wow.
I remember specifically that I do remember specifically that before right after I got the invite, I was thinking, man, I think the last thing I said to those guys was I'll see you when 3 comes out, right?
That is crazy. You are sporting a much more awesome beard, I have to say. Your facial hair game is on point.
Yeah, I decided to instead of just having that full beard, I decided to go ahead and let it see what kind of manliness can happen there. So, and even then, I got to trim it down because
I would love to see an option in the next Shenmue game where you can give Ryu facial hair as well and try to replicate that, because that would be awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah, he's man enough now, right? He's gone through the past.
He's been in that cave long enough.
Yeah. And
he's probably rocking a crazy beard. So let's get started. We got a few questions for you, and then we also have quite a few from the community that they submitted to. We got quite a few, so we'll try to get through these, and hopefully we can get through most of the community questions before we run out of time. But first off, why don't you just tell us how you found out that Yu Suzuki's finally going to go forward with Shenmue 3?
Well, they've been pretty secretive about the whole thing, and I had been talking actually to a friend of mine from Great Britain, Abby, who we had been discussing. He's actually a fan of the game and contacted me, came on over, said hey, and we hung out a few times, and we had been discussing actually. Suzuki ended up doing his own thing, and we were making some speculation, and we even talked about Kickstarter campaign. Maybe a Kickstarter campaign would kind of kick things off, and they had been pretty secretive, all in all, about the whole thing. And I think precisely for the big reveal that they wanted to do there at E3, that they just wanted to blow everybody's mind. Nobody knew about it, including me, including everybody else that I've spoken to who has worked on the project. Even the gentleman that represented me in Japan, who works with games, who set me up with everything that I needed in Japan, and set me up with basically he was my agent basically in Japan. He didn't know anything about it either until he called me up and was like, hey, did you hear? I was like, yeah, I just got home, and all of a sudden my Facebook blew up, and all the Twitter blew up, and my wife was like, hey, did you hear? And I'm like, I just got home. She's like, she showed me everything that was happening, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. So yeah, it was a big secret, a big surprise, and nobody knew about it as far as I knew. I mean, anybody that I knew, any of the voice actors or any of the people that I worked with on the side of the industry or anything. So yeah, big surprise.
What did you think of the video? Did you see the E3 video when Suzuki came out on stage during the Sony press conference?
Yeah, I was curious to what people would think about that, and I think too also people were discussing the voice that somebody did for Hazuki, and it's interesting. They found somebody to do my voice. I think you know what I mean. A lot of people have said that it sounds like me. Mm-hmm. Because it was such a big secret, and they obviously did it in Japan. I don't think they could fly over me just for for a 10 minutes within the studio, so they decided to get somebody to kind of do it. And I don't know if that's what they're. I know we'll go into more detail with it as far as this interview is concerned, but I don't know if they're going to invite me back or not. But I think a lot of people would want that because of comments that I've heard so far. But getting ahead of ourselves already. But yeah, as far as the how it looked as well, I also noticed obviously they're using a little bit different engine for the graphics and all that kind of stuff. It's not the same thing, so I wonder how people are going to feel about that. You know what I mean? Hazuki looks a little different, and I did, one thing that I noticed as far as directing and stuff like that, as far as the lighting and the sound and all that kind of stuff, it's very similar. When she starts jumping across the rocks, it did remind me a lot of the first two games. So I think they're definitely trying to keep that look and feel as much as possible. And so yeah, there's those two things right there as far as look and as far as how it feels, and I think what's part of the popularity of the game is how it feels. It doesn't have to be for some reason it doesn't have to be the most mind-blowing epic graphics that anybody's ever seen. I think I think people still love that feel of Shenmue, So I don't know. Am I wrong on that? I don't know. Maybe
no, absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's more the experience of Shenmue what makes it so special.
Sure, and I kind of feel that if for some reason they were, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to start freaking people out. But if they were to do anything else with the story, and any sort of like offshoot of it or a spin-off or anything like that, then maybe they could completely change the look and feel of the game if they wanted to go that direction, if they wanted to do something completely different, kind of like they do with Final Fantasy or something like that. You know what I mean? Where it is the same, but it's not the same. So they would do something completely different there. But I think as far as completing the story, yeah, we kind of want that same look and feel, right? Even though it's not the most epic thing that anybody's ever seen. So, but I mean, that being said, we have the capability to go so much more in depth as far as even just I remember before when we had Hazuki catching the leaves with his fingers and the tree, you know what I mean? We'll be able to have so much more ability to do something like that, and just to make it look a lot better and a lot smoother. So I'm not saying that we should keep the same, you know what I mean? We shouldn't keep the same technology. We should definitely push it a lot more, and I assume that they will, but we still. It's a tricky game, right? It's a little you want to be able to push the technology of today, but you still want that look and feel, which I think most fans are looking for. So yeah, you want to push in some areas and keep that same classic look and feel in other areas, and that's something that they're going to have to figure out, I think. So good luck to them.
Cool. So when you finished working on the Shenmue 2 game, did they mention about Shenmue 3? Did they tell you that we're going to be working on one right after the sequel?
They had always had stuff in the mix. Yes and no. They had always had stuff in the mix. They had shown me ideas, and they had shown me even some concept art and even some of the stuff that they had put together. As far as I'm trying to remember now. It's been a little while. They did show me things that they had planned, but in reality, I don't know if they knew, or maybe they just assumed that they were, but in the end, they didn't really tell me specifics about story or specifics about what they were going to do. I think that they just had a bunch of stuff in the mix, and they had a bunch of ideas and things that they wanted to do and places that they wanted to go, but I don't know if they had anything specifically nailed down.
Okay.
So.
Now, obviously, the Shenmue community has been just very active pretty much ever since the second game was released. And I just want to get your thoughts on like how vital and how important was the community and just the social media drives that have been ongoing over the years, in your mind, been in helping to get this game made?
I can't stress enough how important. Maybe if I said probably 100% of the reason that we have, maybe 99.999% of the reason that we have Shenmue 3 today is because of the fans. Suzuki, Yu Suzuki even mentioned that in the intro that he had. He said everywhere he goes, people are always talking about when you're going to do Part 3, and I think that he's been paying attention, or maybe forcefully had to pay attention to what people are saying to him all the time. People are like, "Oh, I love your stuff. I love your work. When are you going to do Shenmue 3?" You know what I mean? So for some reason, all the great things that Sega and Yu Suzuki have done, everybody tends to talk about this game, and I know I said last time I spoke to you guys, I believe I said this, that a lot of people, a lot of stars, a lot of movies, a lot of cult movies, whatever, say that they have the best fans in the world. And I've said this, I really honestly do think that Shenmue has the best fans in the world because they do not take no for an answer. They do not quit. They will do anything that they can do. If something doesn't work in one direction, they completely go in a different direction. And it's like the jujitsu that Shenmue fans have had to do over the years to get Shenmue 3 done is just unprecedented. Nobody, I don't think, could ever imagine that a group of people so dedicated could get something like this done. So I don't know if I can stress enough how important the fans are to getting Shenmue 3 done. I don't know, you know what I mean? Because it's one of those. It's like it's like a movie that I don't want to name any specifics because there's a lot of great award-winning movies out there, but it's like if the movie doesn't make $1 gazillion at the box office, they're like, well, it's not Avengers 3, so I don't know if I'm interested because I'm not going to make $100 million in 5 minutes off of the movie. You know what I mean? Shenmue's kind of like that, right? Where you're not going to make all the money in the world, but it's like an Academy Award-winning movie that didn't smash the box office, and I think that it's one of those projects that a company is reluctant to do because they're like, well, are we going to make money? Yeah, of course we're going to make money. We're gonna, but we're not gonna. It's not the Avengers 3 where we're gonna make where every single person in this room is gonna make $100 million. So I understand, but it's one of those. It's like you wanna do something that will give cred to what you're doing, I suppose. You know what I mean? People have talked about that about Sega. They're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that Sega has done over the years, but there's some things that have really given Sega a lot of a lot of cred. They're like, there are some really awesome games, and Shenmue was one of them. And like I said, it's one of those projects you want to do to be like, look, we can actually make something awesome.
All right. Why do you think the game has reached such a cult status, almost on like a religious level? Why do you think what do you think makes the game have this cause people to be so vocal about getting a third game done?
Well, you're right. Yeah, as far as like a religious standing, right? Yeah, so it's kind of like it's not a cult. It's not is it a cult? I don't know. Is it a cult? No, it's not. It's one of those intangibles, right? There's just something about the characters, the story, the music. I guess the people who voiced it, which is great. I mean, people say that they like what I do. I don't know. That's really awesome. and I'm really happy that I could do that. But I mean, it does have a lot of the classic storytelling. For example, we have the father-son relationship. We have the revenge story. We have a lot of the sort of the classic Greek stories. He has to go on this path of revenge, but then he finds out that there's destiny involved and there's magic. There's some things that maybe he didn't know what was going on, and involving some magic mirrors and some ancient prophecies, and just stuff like that is very classic, and a lot of us love those stories. But a lot of people try to tell stories like that, and they just end up just being, okay, well, there's just another story there that but again, there's something intangible about Shenmue where it is, I think, just a combination of everything. It's just a magic combination of everything, and I don't know if you can really pin it down, but what people are so attracted to. I think it's just the right ingredients to make something that people can't get enough of. It's like, when you love it, it's just the greatest thing in the world, and I don't know. I think it makes me so happy, and I'm so I don't know. I find myself just a bit flabbergasted to be a part of such a project. So.
It's amazing. Now, one of the unique things about Shenmue 3, and we can even almost keep talking about how the community has helped make this game made, it's actually going to crowdfunding to help getting made now, so it's even more so a community-driven project. Can you give us your thoughts on the game going to Kickstarter, and then after that, talk a little bit about how amazing it's done on Kickstarter? I mean, I don't know if you saw that Guinness Book of World Records actually recognized it as the fastest Kickstarter ever. I think it was to reach $1 million. So it's been really amazing. Do you think?
Yeah, and what you said right there just hit the nail right on the head. Where to get people sort of the gauge of crowd interest, it's almost like a proof maybe of how dedicated people are, is to put it on Kickstarter. Do some of the people producing it, I mean, that's some of the arguments that I've heard over the past couple of days. Do these people producing it really need a few $1 million? Maybe not. But what I think it is that it is that that idea of crowdfunding, right? So the people, it's almost like the people's game, right? So it's the idea that people are willing to give $3 million, $4 million to this game. People are wanting to spend $10,000 to get a dinner, or that leather jacket, which people were just insane over. You know what I mean? And I think it's the idea of it is a game for this group of people, for the fans. It's for the fans. It really is. And so yeah, when that idea of putting it on Kickstarter, I think is not only to drum up interest and to, I mean, I've seen stuff. The BBC has done stuff about it. Time Magazine had done stuff about it, and so every game publication out there has talked about it. So that to put it on Kickstarter, I think was smart, because like you said, boom, they're just $1 million, $2 million, and it happened just in one night, and then $3 million, and we're still going. So to have this, I think it's the second fastest funding ever, just behind Pebble, right? And then the highest game funding ever. And so yeah, to put it in the Guinness Book of World Records, people say positive things and negative things about it, but the way that it has happened has really opened up a lot of eyes to what's happening out there, and why Shenmue is important. I mean, look at it. Shenmue is important because boom, the proof is right there. And so yeah, this game, I think, to put it on Kickstarter, I think really does show that maybe it is the people's game. You know, it's the game for the fans. So.
Now I know you've been probably approached, multiple times this week. People have been asking you, have they approached you about reprising your role as Ryo? Now maybe it changed. You already said that you haven't, but maybe in the past 24 hours they approached you. But if they haven't, do you think using this stretch goal, with the goal being add English voice acting, do you think that'd be popular with the community?
Yeah. So far, no, I have not been approached. Again, I'll say that again. I haven't been approached about the project. But that is probably because, again, with it happening in Japan, I think that they're probably just getting everything ready, and they're getting everything. They're building things right now. They're probably going to do the same formula as they have. I don't know. They may do the same formula as they have before, where they do the Japanese version first, then they contact English voiceover actors, particularly in Japan, then a few of us here in the States, to come and do the project after it has already been released. Some people say, I don't need an English dub. Maybe even just an English sub would be fine. But I've heard a lot of people say, if there's no English dub, and this is weird for me to say, and it's a bit. I'm very humbled by this, but a lot of people say if Corey Marshall is not in Shenmue 3, then forget about it. And I'm
I'd
like,
be one of them, trust me.
Okay, well, I don't know why, because it's me, I guess, and I don't know what to say. I really appreciate that. That's very awesome. I don't know. I have a hard time processing that in my brain, but thank you so much to everybody who thinks that. And the only thing I can suggest to people is that it has already started. That because you guys were the ones who got Shenmue 3 started. If you want something done, you can do it. You've already proved that you can. So if you want something, if you want, me, or if you want Eric Kelso, or if you want Lisa, or if whoever you want, just say, these are the people that I want, and this is how I feel it. And when I used to do a lot of environmental work, and a lot of stuff that we used to do was just a ton of letter writing and phone calls, and we used to get a lot of stuff done that way, and it really does work. If you put yourself out there and you work hard and do a campaign, and you get a lot of people saying, I want an English voiceover done for Shenmue 3, then you can get it done. You've already proved that you can get Shenmue 3. Do what you want to do is what I'm saying. If you feel like this is what you want, let it be known. Let people hear it, and more power to you, because you guys can make anything happen. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. So.
Right on. Now, it's been, almost like 14, 15 years since the second Shenmue has been released. Obviously, we've all aged since then, yourself including. Do you think you'd still be able to replicate Ryo's voice, being that it was geared towards such a young man like that at that time?
Yeah, when I originally did the project, luckily that they didn't have me change my voice that much. They just had me just kind of change the pitch just a little bit, so the pitch is just a little bit higher than my normal speaking voice. So hopefully I could just, particularly when they had me do the project before, when they had people doing character voices, if they had somebody doing like a female doing a young boy's voice, or if they had character grubby or total like whacked out characters or whatever, they would play those sound bits back, and a voice actor is able to remember what that felt like. So it's just maybe you even have to stand a different way. It's just how muscles feel in your body and your throat, and it just depends on what character you're doing. But yeah, if I could just, we'd probably do the same thing where I would hear myself again and just bring that pitch up just a little bit. So yeah, luckily for me, there's a lot of people who did a lot of voices on there, and a lot of really talented actors who had to do some character voices. Luckily for me, I didn't have to do that much, and I'm sure I could get that. I'm sure I could get that pitch back. So, luckily I don't smoke, 2-pack or 4 packs of unfiltered cigarettes a day, and I haven't lost any of my. But that would be real different, right? So maybe they should keep that individual who did Ryo before, if he sounds more like Ryo if I did. But luckily, I sound very similar, I think, to what I once did. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I want to ask about some of the other voice actors, the other English voice actors. I've noticed that you guys are all kind of friends on Facebook. Have you guys kept in touch throughout the years, and how, I guess, feasible do you think it would be to get the kind of like the whole gang back together again and do that? Do you think everyone else would be up for it?
Yes. It's funny too, because I noticed a lot of the voice actors feel the same way about the project, where we are excited about it. For example, a lot of people know I've spoken about Eric Kelso before. He's like, when he found out about it, he was like, yes, let's go kick some ass again, brother. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it, And yeah, he found out about it, and he was just totally excited to get back together. And yeah, it is an exciting project. I've worked on several projects. I've done all kinds of things. I've done film, and I've produced some things, and I did voiceovers for Japanese animation and stuff like that. But man, there is something, even for the voice actors, there is something about Shenmue where it is. It's not work, first of all, you know what I mean? Like, you just go there and you do these characters and you interact with each other, and you're making something. Of course, you want it to be good, and you're trying to make a good project. And I think that's it too. Like maybe Shenmue has that. Maybe it has. I don't know. Do people feel like it is that kind of underdog game where it's not a Black Ops game, it's not Fallout or something like that, where you just know it's going to explode, and there's going to be a bazillion people playing it, and I think I do love doing voiceover projects, but there's something about Shenmue where I love the people involved. I love the people involved on both sides of it, and I love the characters, and we're just going there. We're just trying to make something really cool, We get to go and explore and have fun, and I don't know, kind of talk about how Shenmue is a little quirky and a little weird sometimes, but man, we love it, So it's just when the voice actors get in, when we get in there, and that's another thing too. Like a lot of projects, you do your bit, and you can probably do the whole game sometimes in an hour. And then you split, and you're like, wow, that was fun, but I didn't see anybody, I didn't do anything, or I didn't, it's like, I just kind of did my lines, they did some corrections here and there, they maybe had me do a few things over, maybe, they'd have to call me back a couple of weeks later to do something over or whatever, but you do your bit and you split. And with Shenmue, it's like a project that people go together, and I remember we did sessions with sometimes we had 2, sometimes we had 3, 4, and 5 people in the same studio, and you just don't really do that, you know what I mean? Even with the animated projects that I had done before in the past, it's just not something you do, because it's not particularly efficient. It's not particularly, it doesn't bode well to, just saying your bit and leaving. It's like, okay, so you don't have to pay the actor very much. You get to pay him for his hour, and then he goes. You know what I mean? But what I've noticed with Shenmue is that they're more interested in getting people together and kind of creating something. So it's more of a process, and maybe that has something to do with maybe the appeal of Shenmue, because we are in the studios together a lot, often, and I don't know. That's something that I haven't experienced with other projects before, and that's something that certainly makes Shenmue different for us as actors. So.
So, I mean, the English dub has been absolutely probably some of the, of the versions of Shenmue that have been the most quoted. They've had some pretty interesting dialogue that they, you and the other voice actors, say. So, if Shenmue were to feature English voice acting, do you think they should take the same approach as the first two games with the type of dialogue, or do you think they should do like a better translation? Should the dialogue be different? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That, and I know I've said this before, and I talked to you guys about it. Because there is the want of the people who are making it, particularly Ryo Hazuki and some of the other producers, and at the time it was SEGA, that they wanted a particular feeling for Shenmue, and it wasn't when we translated it, we're like, okay, well, let's make everything make total sense for Westerners, particularly Europeans, Americans, Canadians, us down here in the States, and so they decided not to go that route. They decided to keep that same sort of feeling that is a little bit foreign for us, I think, on the other side, right, of the Pacific. And so yeah, it does come out a little different, right? It does come out a little quirky sometimes, a little strange. Yeah, some of the dialogue, people talk about it all the time. To this day, when people found out that 3 was coming out, my Twitter exploded with quotes, English quotes from the game. And I'm like, oh man, it's happening again. It's all over the place, and it'll never stop. It'll never stop.
It's like a horrible flashback.
If we continue going on with this voiceover project, I swear to God, it'll be 50 years from now, and people will be like, "Hey, Corey Marshall, let's get sweaty, buddy." Oh man, let's get sweaty. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think should they change it? No, I don't. I don't think they should change it. I think that they should. It's not exactly like English.com, right? Where you just where you have the Japanese translation and you just hit the translate button and it just spits out awesomeness, right? But we did have people there. Who, were working with the script, English-speaking from the United States, people working with the script to try and, and I've talked about this before too. Even, particularly me and Eric, we would kind of sit there sometimes and be like, yeah, this is not, we really can't say this. This is something we cannot say because it just sounds, we can't exactly say how it sounds. Let's just say that. And so there is quite a bit of back and forth there, and yeah, we did have some negotiation. We did have to talk about the script, but at the same time, it's like that's just Shenmue, man. We kind of have to let it go and let it be. And so the short answer is should we change it? I don't think so. I don't think that we should totally make it. 100% Western. No, I don't think that we should, because that sort of, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Translation is what makes Shenmue awesome sometimes, So.
Definitely, I do think that's been part of the charm and the lasting appeal of Shenmue, is just some of the quirkiness and things like that. But I want to ask you, it has, like we said before, it has been a while since Shenmue 2 was released, and you look at just kind of the state of video games and what video games are like today, it's vastly different from when Shenmue 2 was released. And, really, Shenmue 2 is different than most other stuff back then anyway, but, video games have evolved, development has evolved quite a bit since then. And do you think that the Shenmue style of gameplay, the gameplay mechanics, do you think that would translate to today's gamer, or do you think Suzuki is going to have to go back and kind of update some different aspects of the series to kind of make it more palatable to today's gamer?
Yeah. I mean, we had touched about this just a few minutes ago. So, yeah, it's hard, right? Okay, so let's think of an example that we can all think of. Let's maybe take Star Wars, right? So when Star Wars was made in the 70s and the 80s, it's like, so it was groundbreaking at the time, and everybody flipped out, and it was the greatest thing ever. And then when we made Star Wars today, with today's technology, everybody hated it, And, well, I don't know, maybe not everybody hated it, but I think a lot of people had some choice things to say about it. But do you want to go back and do the same technology as they did in the 70s? Well, no, maybe not. But I think that you could probably keep that same look and feel and just improve things a little bit, you know what I mean? Make things a little smoother, you know what I mean? Make things, So I don't know. Do we want to make completely computer-generated graphic characters? And people are like, no, the puppets were so much better, and whatever. I mean, this discussion can go on forever. But so yeah, as I said before, man, there are some wholly incredible, mind-blowing games out there that just are like, when you look at it, your jaw drops, and you're just like, oh, I can't even believe what I'm looking at right now. Some games are so amazing today. Is Shenmue 3 going to be able to compare to that? I think what they should, this is just my opinion. I don't know. I don't make games. I know a lot of people who make games, and they're kind of in a different situation. They're like, for example, I know people who work in Call of Duty. So do you want an old Call of Duty? No, absolutely not. You're still pushing the boundaries. You're moving forward. You're doing something completely different. I mean, look at the Call of Duty that they did just recently. It's so different than the original game, but they're in a different place. They're in a different, they're kind of in a linear fashion where they're just pushing the game beyond boundaries that they couldn't even imagine just a few years ago. But Shenmue's kind of taken a step back, and it's kind of going back to a nostalgic era, I think. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not making games here, and I'm not, I don't, what do I know? But I kind of feel like, I think that people do want to take a bit of a step back, and is that okay? Sure. People play, for example, the old Final Fantasy games. People play those all the time, and they're what is it, 32-bit? Some of them, and some of them are. Even some of the originals are even whatever. It doesn't even matter. For example, even some of the mobile games, they will go back to the little bobblehead guys that are running around on a very blocky map, and people love that. So that's taking a step back, and people love that, and people will still play those Final Fantasy games. But do I think that they should improve on it? Like I said, I think people do want that same look, that same feeling, and if you can just smooth some things out, some of the processes, for example, some of the fighting, or some of the nature, some of the hair, for example, or whatever. Like if you want to improve some of those things, in my opinion, yeah, go for it. Make things a little different, and just improve on it, I guess. But I think people are still looking for a nostalgic look. They want the same look and feeling, I think, as the old Shenmues, and I think that, again, this is just my personal opinion, maybe they should kind of take that direction. But I don't know what they have in mind. Do they want to do what other games have done when they didn't have the ability for again, I'm talking about Final Fantasy here a lot, but for example, in the original 7, you had kind of a low-grade character running around the world, doing most of the action, and then when you get to a cinematic sequence, the sequence was just really over the top, really great. Really, they spent a lot of time, a lot of money on that. So, do they want to do something like that, where they have a sequence well, a cinematic sequence. Do they want to improve on that? I don't know. That's their opinion. If that's the direction they want to go, I don't know. I don't know if fans would like that, or if they want the game to continue with because, like I said, we did see things were a little different. I don't know. You can see more detail in the face and the clothes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, things have already changed if they're going to keep going in that direction. But how much it's going to change, it's certainly up to them. And but I think I'm just gauging from fans that they want they want they want their Shenmue. They want their Shenmue back, and all they want to do is finish it. So again, if they want to move on and do an offshoot, if they want to do a spinoff or whatever, maybe then they could do something completely different. I don't know, but I think this project is unique in a way where I think people just want to finish the game. I just want to have the third version of the game. I just want it to be done, and I think that it's I think people still want that same old look. They still want Shenmue. They still want that Shenmue. That's just what I think.
All right. Well, we had like a bunch of community questions that people submitted. I pimped out that picture to the Shenmue Dojo, Shenmue 500K, our SEGA Nerds fan page, and we got some interesting questions and some that were just kind of funny. So I think you've seen that promo picture that we put up on our SEGA Nerds Facebook page, and for some reason people were wondering why you were wearing 2 belts in that picture.
2 belts?
Yeah, like 2 pants belts. They said that they noticed 2 pants belts.
That particular day, it's funny. That particular day, I had my regular belt on, and I always carry I call it my man sack, and it's a leather sack. It's like a satchel, and it has a bunch of stuff in it. And I always carry flashlights and multi-tools, and always carry a pocket knife, of course, in my pocket. But I carry a multitude of things just to be a little prepared in life. And I think that just comes from my theater background. I always have a tool on me. I always have a couple of knives on me. I always have screwdrivers and I always have stuff on me. You know what I mean? And so I don't like to carry 6,000 pounds of gear in my pocket. So I have that man sack. And
I'm going to use that one now.
Yeah, that particular day, I think I had my thinner belt on. I had my nicer belt, and I was just like, oh, I think I'm just going to throw on because I have a thicker belt, a full grain leather 1.5-inch belt, and I threw that one on with the sack. And so, yeah, that day I had 2 belts on, so that's kind of unusual. Usually I'll wear my pant belt with my satchel on it, but that day was just one of those kind of odd days out where I had 2 belts on, so I don't know.
You're like a walking Fallout character.
Yeah. People have been like, dude, that's awesome. And it's funny, when I wear that, people are like, that is so awesome. But I don't know if most people would be able to sport that, or if they would be willing to sport that. But people will be like, whoa, dude, you.
All right, this next one is from Jibby from Shenmue Dojo.
Okay.
And he or she asks, what is your favorite Ryu quote?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Let's remember some. What are some good quotes from Mr. Hazuki, young Hazuki? What do you guys remember?
Well, I remember the one where he just goes around asking if you remember that day. Turns from snow to rain.
Yeah, the day.
That might be one of my
Yeah.
We were joking around yesterday, Marcin and I, about how awesome it would be to have some of those quotes just as your like a voicemail or something like that, just personalized Ryo Hazuki voicemail messages for people on your phone.
Yeah, you know, yeah, people have actually mentioned that before. You know, I think some of the best. There are some good quotes from Shenmue. People tend to remember the funny ones, but you know, there are quotes where he's just like, you know, I will have my revenge. His father also talks about, you know, keep friends those you love close to you, and you know, there are some things that that can be said that are more, you know, more heartfelt quotes and things like that. But it's so hilarious that people often remember the funny ones, you know. And I mentioned before, like, let's get sweaty, you know, people love that quote. But yeah, so favorite quote, I don't know. There at this point there are so many, you know. People talk about everything from sailors to you know, Guizan teaching Hazuki how to use the swallow, you know. And,
it's always funny when they always bring up the sailors one every time. I think it's probably the one that they keep asking you to say.
So before we move on, I have to introduce my my daughter. Just a second.
Hello.
Hi.
Say hi. This is Katana. She was, I guess, 3. She turned 3 last time we talked. No. She turned 4 last time we talked, and now she's just turned 6. And this is Katana, my daughter, everybody.
You gotta call Katana.
We have 170 people watching this, so everyone out there is waving hi to you. She's adorable.
Oh, love you, baby. So, yeah, man.
I think you got the next one, Marcel.
So basically, I think this one is from JSW34 from the dojo. Now, I don't know if you're able to say, but he asked did you voice any major plot points that weren't in either of the first 2 games? Like, did they make you voice them over and they just never made them into the game?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because again, they did have the. But he's talking about 1 and 2, obviously, right? So yeah, because the first game was already made, they had done the Japanese version already. Yeah, I just filled in that role. I filled in the voiceover. So it's not like anything ended up on the cutting room floor or anything like that, because a lot of times, yeah, when you make a brand new game or when you know, film, and a lot of people know film, you have to cut down a film to make it palatable sometimes, to make it shorter or whatever, and a lot of stuff ends up on the floor. But no, it really didn't. Everything that I voiced ended up being in the game. And you know, it's funny, I personally haven't been able to unlock all of the secrets. Maybe it's just because I'm a dad and I don't have all the time in the world, but yeah, a lot of people were able to show me stuff on the game, and I was like, holy crap, man, I forgot about that. And so yeah, everything that I have voiced, yeah, ended up in the game, because they didn't leave anything out. As far as I know, I'm even all the secrets, the fighting secrets, and all the other characters that you can meet and stuff like that. Everything that I voiced, I remember seeing. And so yeah, nothing that I ever did was left out, as far as I know.
Awesome. Stock from Shenmue Dojo asks, what voiceover work have you done since Shenmue, and do you feel like you've grown as a voice actor since then?
You know, it's funny. After I did Shenmue, I did a couple of Japanese animation projects. I did a Symbol Insert, and I did Boogie Pop Phantom, and I did a couple other projects, a couple other smaller projects. But after that, I had, because I've been doing a lot of things in my life, and I had been doing a lot of entertainment at that time. I had been doing some dancing at that time, because a lot of people know I was a professional dancer. I had gone on tour. I had done stuff around the United States. And then shortly after that, I moved to Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, I did some stuff on stage as well. I did a ballet on stage. and then I did some films, some smaller films, and actually I did stuff at the Los Angeles Opera, and I did. I even produced some projects for Capitol Records and a company called Megatrend, and so I had been doing a lot of stuff that didn't necessarily involve voiceover work, and it's actually really ironic in a way, or maybe coincidental in a, you know what I'm trying to say, in a way where I was speaking to my wife not too long ago about, I had discussed this before in my past about getting back into voiceovers, and I'm like, I think I really need to get back into voiceovers. I mean, honestly, I sat down with my wife recently. We had talked about, going back to producing again was out of the question because of how much time it takes. I mean, literally, I would leave when the sun wasn't up, and I was back when the sun was way down, so I mean we're talking midnight and stuff like that, or more. If I'm gone on a project, if I'm on location somewhere, I'm not even home, so it's just not something that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So voiceover really leads a lot of, well, funnily enough, if I were to take on the project of Shenmue, they would probably again send me to Japan, so all that just flies out the window, so forget everything I was saying. But particularly when I was doing other projects, voiceover projects, yeah, you can really set your own schedule. You can make good money, and you can voice your. A lot of times you can do your voice stuff at home. My aunt also is in the business. She does voiceovers. She does commercials and stuff like that. And she has her studio set up in her house, and she emails her work in, so she doesn't even have to leave home. And as long as you have a good mic and a decent setup, you don't have any sound issues like with air, or you have your little sound booth set up. Technology is the way it is today, where you can literally email in your work. So, and I talked about this with my wife, and I was like, man, I really think I want to get back into voiceover stuff, and I just need to do it,
Mm-hmm.
And then, man, it must have been probably last week that we had talked about this, and then Shenmue 3 pops up, so.
It's amazing.
There's a coincidence for you, I suppose, and with Shenmue coming up, I kind of figured, I think I could get back into the business, hopefully, pretty easily this way, where people would want me in their projects, people would want me in their games, because of what's going on with Shenmue and all of the buzz about it, and I think that I could probably, hopefully, get back in it. So, if anybody makes games out there and is interested in me having me in it, I think that I'm ready to come back in the business. So, as far as your other part of the question, you asked if I grew as a voice actor. I think that I grew in my profession in many different ways, and a lot of that comes from the stage stuff that I did, all the performing stuff that I did. I did do some film, and everything that I do gets me to where I am today. Have I grown as an actor? Yeah, I think that I definitely have. Pardon me. There's a lot of stuff that have happened to me in my life now, being a dad, that you can kind of imitate when you try to do a character, but just the experiences that you gain in life will make you a better actor. In general, and like I said, you can imitate these things. Like, let's just say my father dying in the game. I could imitate that pain, or I could think about something else. Maybe I could think about another parent or another family member that died, or something else, but unless you know how it feels to have your father die, which fortunately I don't, unfortunately a lot of people do, maybe they could relate to that. and they could make that translate into their work a lot more. Just the more experience you have, yeah, the better you are going to be as an actor. So, as far as you know, all the stuff that I've done up to now, yes, it's going to make me better. All the experience that I've had in life so far up to now, yes, it's going to make me better. So, yeah, I hope to bring that to the next project, and if they do have me back, and again, I would be more than happy to come back, and if they do have me back, then I hope that I can bring those experiences with me. Just to I know that Hazuki is still a young man, but he has gone through an awful lot in his short life. It was particularly the last the last few years in his game. He's had to deal with a lot in his life, and he's had to grow up a lot faster than a lot of other kids. So maybe I could help bring those experiences in.
Sweet. So James Brown from the Shenmue Dojo asked if has your voice ever been recognized as Ryo by someone that actually doesn't know what you look like?
No. In fact, I've worked with a few people, and in fact, I worked with a guy really closely. I just mentioned that I worked in a company called Megatrend, and the assistant director was a young guy who was actually a big fan of the game, and didn't know that it was me, because first of all, I don't think he knew my last name, and then I don't know how it came up. I had mentioned it about something, and he was he was flabbergasted and didn't realize it was me and flipped out and couldn't he's like couldn't believe that he was working next to me this whole time and didn't even know it. So it's strange. Yeah, people didn't recognize just my voice without knowing who I am. But when people know who I am and then they hear my voice, they're like, "Oh my God."
Sounds just like him.
Yeah, it sounds just like him. So yeah, I think people, I think once that connection is made, then it's so blaringly obvious. How could I miss it in the first place? But yeah, it does. I think it takes it takes something. It's funny when I hear a lot of stuff happening. Just on the television and commercials and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, hey, that's the guy who plays Joe on Family Guy. And my wife is like, oh, really? And I'm able to pick that out a lot more than I think a lot of other people are. Hold up a second. But so yeah, I'm able to recognize a lot of voice, even that my wife is not able to recognize. But but that particular thing has never happened to me. Yeah, where people are like, dude, you sound just like Ryo Hazuki. No, that's never happened. So.
Fair enough. This is kind of an interesting question. Someone wrote in and asked, given the technology at the time of recording Shenmue 1, were there any limitations on what you were able to do in terms of voice acting?
No. No. Well, I mean, the only thing is that of course, the project was already made, and sometimes we had some timing issues with, obviously languages being different, and sometimes you would have to make things longer or shorter because of what was already made. Because at the time they were able to change the lip sync, so it was very easy for them already. They already had the technology to change how the lips were being moved to accommodate our English language. So we didn't have to, for example, sometimes when you're doing animation, directors will try to change the words to make it not so stupid that you're saying something in English and it looks so bad with the Japanese animation that's already happened. You know what I mean? So you'll try to make your sounds or your noises or your pauses or whatever to go with the animation that's already happened. But when they had the game, they were able to change the lip sync. And the only thing is that sometimes we had an issue with the timing that the character was on the screen, and we had to make sure that we got that on sync. But that's about it. Just a moment, okay?
Okay.
Okay. My laptop's running out of power. I'll need to plug this in just a moment.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead.
Okay, so the next question is from Anthony King. So if for some reason you didn't get to voice Ryo, so like if, let's say they pulled a Konami and they got Kiefer Sutherland to voice Snake instead of David Hayter, do you see anyone else playing Ryo, and who do you think would be, I guess, a good successor, replacement? Yeah.
Yeah, well, if they got Kiefer Sutherland, I guess I would have to humbly bow out, because Kiefer Sutherland, what can I say? And I almost feel like it's not up to me, right? So they make the game, and it's ultimately their decision. But I think maybe a better question is, do I think that the fans would be okay with that? I don't know. That's a separate question.
I would say
of
no.
course, I would love to do the project. I think that we need to stick to the original voice actors as much as possible. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a voice actor. I'm saying that because I think it will help with the integrity of the project. Mm-hmm. So yes, do I think that we need to? Do I think that we need to keep the same voice actors? Yes, I do, and that's just for integrity. So, but are the fans going to accept anything else? I don't know. I unfortunately. I think that's something they're going to have to deal with. Just a moment. Let me plug in my laptop here.
No problem.
So yeah, there's that right there. I think that they should keep the voice actors for integrity only. So I don't know. Let's let the fans decide, huh?
That sounds like a good idea. Go ahead, Marcin.
Okay. This was my own question. So I think it was around 2 years ago. I might be ignorant. It might have been already released, but you have a cover photo of you in front of a SEGA logo. You said it wasn't Shenmue 3. What was the game that you were voicing over for?
Oh,
or can you not say?
That actually that was not a voiceover project.
What was it?
If I was doing anything at the time, it was not for SEGA. I was in Vegas at the time, and there was a massive arcade there, and I had taken a picture next to SEGA just because my wife wanted to take that picture. Oh, I hope I didn't. Man, that's funny. I probably freaked out a bunch of people, didn't I?
Just a bit.
Yeah. Oh, so I apologize. I didn't realize that I had done that. I had, I don't know if. I don't remember what I had posted, and I think I was there. I don't know if I had said I was next to a game or if I was there with the SEGA game, or I don't know. I
think people were like, because they saw you next to a SEGA logo, and then they also saw your profile picture change to you in front of a microphone, and then they connected one and one together. You're like, oh, Shenmue.
What it was is that I was. Just a second.
Oh, are you there, Corey? Uh-oh. You still here, Marson?
Yeah.
I hope we didn't lose him.
Is it possible to like pause the feed?
No. Maybe he'll come back. I'll send a message on Facebook real quick. Let's see what happened. Whoops, I think we lost you. Able to come back. So for everyone out there, hopefully you guys have been enjoying the interview so far. We're actually wrapping things up anyway. We just had a few more fan questions. So, unfortunately, it looks like he did get dropped from the call. Don't know what happened. I sent him a message on Facebook. Mars, if you want, you could ask me the questions and I'll answer them.
Channel Corey Marshall, see what he thinks.
Yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't mind that at all. Well, I'll tell you what. I guess we'll just go ahead and end it. Unfortunately, maybe he had an issue with his internet or something like that, and he got bumped off. It sounded like he was getting a phone call. Maybe he's on dial-up, and he got a phone call, and it bumped him from the internet. Man, he might have actually been using his Dreamcast to do this. He was using his Dream Eye and his Dreamcast keyboard to do this. He had a broadband adapter on that, so.
Well, he said he'd be right back, so it's possible that he paused the feed or got disconnected, which is a message I just got off my phone from. Oh yeah. He got bumped off. Yeah.
I do want to apologize to everyone out there. The echo, we were having some issues with Corey's mic before we went on air. We ended up having to do it this way just because it was better quality to do it without headphones for him. His audio coming through. Unfortunately, that caused a little bit of an echo when we were talking. So we apologize about that. What we're going to end up doing, though, is we're going to put this interview into this week's SEGA Nerdcast episode. So when you download the audio interview or the audio podcast with the interview in there, I'll go back through, clean it up, clean up some of those, the echoes and all that kind of stuff. So it'll sound a lot better than it did. But I do want to apologize for that. It's just the best we could do. And I think the most important part is hearing Corey's replies in the best quality that we could get, and this is our solution to doing that. So, all right, well, it's been fun, Marson. I think we answered some or got some really interesting questions answered from the community, and I for one, I will say this, that I would be very upset. Not only if Shenmue 3 didn't feature English voice acting, but if they went in another direction, then not only Corey Marshall, but the rest of the English voice acting cast. I think it's safe to say, a large majority of the people out there in the community do want them back, and I think it would be great for the community to get behind that. Let Yu Suzuki know, go onto the Kickstarter page and express those, your opinions. Obviously, do it as respectfully and courteously as you can.
Right.
Don't be an asshole about it or anything like that. But just tell them, like, hey, it's really important to us that Corey Marshall and the rest of the group is back. Voice acting is a big deal to us. We want, we want that, and I think it's like he was touched on. I think it's good just for a consistency standpoint over the series to keep that all together. It's always so weird when you watch a movie or a TV series and they replace a character with a new actor. It's just never it's never right. And this is almost the same thing. Like, sure, maybe they try to get someone that kind of sounds like Corey, but it won't be the same. And I think it's fair to say everyone wants to see him back. So let's get behind that, folks. Go out there and and let that be heard. And I think that's a movement that everyone could get behind. Now that Shenmue 3 is getting made, and we're working on the funding drive and getting the word out from that standpoint. At the same time, let's start doing this other thing. Let's get those voice actors back together and working on the project as well.
I agree. Add it to the tweet-a-thon on the 3rd, guys.
That's right. All right, so that's going to do it. We are actually going to be recording a Nerdcast probably this weekend sometime. So we'll be back talking more about the Kickstarter itself, looking at some different aspects of it. There's been a lot of negativity from some gaming publications about the Kickstarter, about Sony's involvement and things like that in it. So we'll address some of those things, and we'll try to kind of get to the bottom of that, and also just figure out, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Should Ryo Hazuki and his team be more forthright in what's going on? We'll talk about all that, and I think it'll be interesting. So,
hey,
he's back.
Hey, fellas, sorry about that. I went from 20% to nothing in like 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. We thought that you might have been using your Dreamcast to do this video call.
Yeah, going through a 50K modem.
Okay, so we're back. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, we're back in action now. Marcin, keep going, buddy.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So now I'm a little flustered. Okay. So the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter campaign. People were asking, have you contributed to it? Is there anything that you personally want to do to support the campaign? Do you think there's anything else that we should do to increase the funds for Shenmue 3?
Yeah, I think, I will contribute. I know Eric Kelso has as well. Just to contribute, just to put your numbers in there, just to be like, yeah, we're interested in it, we want to do it. Even if I know some people, even if you think that you can't make a difference by doing your $5 pledge or whatever you can do, even if you just have the number of backers on there. How many do we have now? How many backers do we have now? Do you remember?
Let's check. We have the Shenmue watch on SEGA Nerds. We can look right there.
Everyone can take a look at it on SegaNerds.com. Let's see. 42,079 backers currently.
I thought we're at over 40,000, right? So yeah. If people come in and just make a small donation or something like that, I kind of feel like getting the number of backers up would be fantastic, and I think I will as well, just to be like, hey, yeah, we're here, we want the project done. And at this point, I am definitely willing to do what it takes to get this project done, because I think everybody who has made this game, first of all, wants it to be done, and second of all, I think they kind of need it to be done for the fans, I think, and I feel the same way. I feel like if there's anything that I can do to get this project forward, I would be willing to do it, because I think we should get this project done for you guys, to be honest with you, and that's why I'm here today, because I figured if this is something I can do, I can come on and talk to you guys. I know that you guys, you guys love the game. I think that's great, and that's why I'm here today, because I want to talk about it, and I want people to get excited about it. I want people to, people who haven't played it before, I want people to go back and play the game, and I want people to kind of enjoy a different kind of game, right? So you don't have some people might complain about the pace of the game because of how games are made today, but I think if you play a different kind of game, it will kind of open up your mind, broaden your mind to different possibilities of gameplay, and I think that's important for. A lot of people have even said that they have become game developers, or they've gotten into the business, or even just, they decided to get into computers and generating graphics or whatever the case may be because of Shenmue, And I think the more the more that people were exposed to different, this type of game, which is they try to make it, they try to make it a little bit more like real life, right? I mean that's how Shenmue was built when it first came out. You got to deal with time, you got to deal with shops are open, you got to deal with the sunset, you got to deal with those kind. For example, just getting from one place to another. Sometimes you're like, God, man, I really got to run all the way through town in order to get there. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but at the same time, it's what makes Shenmue, And I think if people were exposed to that, I think that it would really kind of broaden people's horizons a little bit. So. And so, yeah, if there's anything I can do to help the project, I think I'd be definitely willing to do so. If anybody involved on the other side needed me or my personality or my voice or whatever the case may be, I'd be willing to do whatever it takes. I love the project. I want it to get done.
Fair enough. Marcin, do you want to ask the next one as well?
Sure. Let's see. They were wondering, would you want your daughter to have a voice, acting role in the game? Do you think she should, have a shot at trying voice acting in Shenmue 3 if she had the option to?
Yeah, Katana loves the. She actually loves the business. She's started doing some acting classes, and she's started auditioning for commercials and stuff like that. And she had done some films when she was younger. She had been in a film about Japanese and the internment camps that we had here in the United States, and she was in a film called Leyenda when she was just a baby, and so she likes it, and if she would if they wanted to do a voice with her in it, I think that she would love to do it, because she sees Daddy on the as a guy with black hair and leather jacket. Remember him? Okay. Yeah, and she's cool. So yeah, if they wanted her to do the project, she's ready, because she's kind of grown up around it with me, being in the business, with me talking about the stuff that I've done, seeing Shenmue, seeing some of the projects that we have done in the past, and she knows, man, I've done everything from magic shows to dancing on stage, and I'll tell you all about it, right? Mm-hmm.
We have Jez Walton from Shenmue 500K. He wants to know if the community could get you to dub your own E3 trailer so we can have the best possible version.
Because I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, well, again, I know that they had probably done this project outside of the States. They probably obviously did it in Japan, right? So they had to. I think what happened. I'm not privy to this information as of right now, but I think what they had to do is that they had to get somebody to do Hazuki's voice. That they had somebody who was available at the time. And I mean, I do think that they try to have him sound like Ryo Hazuki, me as Ryo Hazuki, right. And they did the best they could, and that's just they wanted to get the trailer out to E3. They wanted to be, big super secret, and they were very successful in that. And so yeah, you can't, I understand that they can't bring me in, because that, the Japanese way is that they want to bring you into the studio. They want to have a person there. I mean, again, I had mentioned before, previously in this interview that you can email in your work. However, that's not the Japanese way. They have studios. They want the actor to be there. They actually want to be face to face with the actor, and I understand that. That is their way. So they needed to get somebody in there to do the project. I understand that. But if I could, if they wanted to redo it, if fans demanded that they redo it, yeah, I'll do it for sure, and I have no problems with that, and if that's what the fans want, we can get it done. But again, I completely understand why they did it, how they did it, and the whole thing behind that. So that's what they ended up having to do, and that's what's going on. So again, just let Yu Suzuki and everybody else involved know how you feel, and that's really up to them. They may or may not do it. Just to have the trailer revoiced it. I don't know. It may or may not happen. Maybe not. But
maybe it could just be kind of a community thing, and we can just kind of start spreading it around from there. Just the video around, and maybe it'll make their way back.
I could just do it, and then somebody would edit it and put it back together. Yeah. So. So yeah, I feel like if they're going to do a different trailer, if they're going to do a more official trailer, if they're going to introduce some of the story or something like that, it might be important to bring me in. I mean, again, it's ultimately not my decision, so they have to decide what they're going to do with the money that they have. Because the thing is that it's expensive to bring a voice actor from the United States to Japan. We have to talk about flight and accommodations and food, and I mean those things really add up. I mean, just housing alone in Japan is outrageous. So. So if they're going to do a more official trailer, what I think is interesting is that when they introduced Shenmue 3, I realized that we're doing it at E3, and it did happen here in the States, and so it was English audience at least, I should say, and so when they did the trailer, they did the trailer in English, and they even had Yu Suzuki speaking English as well, so I thought it was interesting that they did the trailer in English, and so I don't know. I assume that they're going to do the game in English, and I don't know if that's premature or not. I just kind of feel that maybe they would do the same format where they would do the game in Japanese and then translate to English. But we'll see. They chose to do it in English as opposed to doing it with Japanese with English sub, and I think a lot of people would have accepted that, but they chose not to go that way, and why they did that is unclear to me. So we'll see. Maybe some of the information will come out in the future.
Yep. Marcel, I'll let you ask the last question since it came from your brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched on it, but my brother Chris really wanted to ask the question, and he just wanted to know, since there is a 15-year gap between Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3, would you approach Ryo a little differently this time around than you did back in 2000, 2001?
Yeah, we did talk about this. So let's see if I can. Again, though, I think I would want to try and go back to, as far as bringing my ability to the character. Yes, I always want to improve my character. Well, as much as I can within the confines. Again, I had talked about this before too. When I would say something as Hazuki, I tried to keep what I would imagine myself to be as a young Japanese man, right? So I didn't speak as if I'm speaking to you now. It was less conversational. It was more, he's more of a stoic character. So again, I would try to bring my own experiences and try to improve as an actor. However, I need to go back to that same mindset, first of all, where he is, who he is in life, just who he is as a person, I should say. So I need to kind of, again, not everything is black and white, right? So I need to do the best I can with the experiences that I've gained in life to bring that to Hazuki. But I also need to keep in mind who he is, where he is, what's happened to him, and still keep that same character as I did before. So it's a little, it's going back and forth. So I do want to keep Hazuki in a way as he is. Maybe he could grow as a character as the game goes, or he could grow as a person as the game goes on.
Cool.
All right, I think that's gonna do it for us. That's the last fan question that we got, the community question. So I want to thank you, Corey, for coming on with us again. Do you have any parting shots or anything like that you want to say to the Shenmue community before we end the interview today?
Well, again, you asked me in the beginning how important were the Shenmue fans for getting Shenmue 3 made, and I really think that there was the utmost importance. I don't think it would have happened without you guys. I don't think they would have been like, hey, remember that project we did all those years ago? Let's bring that back, as opposed to, most of the times people want to move on and do something different, and or something else that they have been thinking about for years, they haven't done yet or whatever. So to go back and finish something that like Shenmue was, the fans were the most important aspect of that. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't have happened without you guys. So if there's anything that I need to say at the end, it's just, you guys are the greatest. Thank you so much for everything that you have done for me and my family and the project and everything else. You guys are just awesome. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of the things that you said for me as an actor, and for Shenmue itself, So thanks for everything,
Awesome. All right, that's going to do it for us, and hopefully next time we talk, it'll be under some more official, times when hopefully it'll be when we find out that you and the rest of the gang have been brought on to do some work on Shenmue 3. So once again, thanks. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, if for some reason we get some sort of official green light on the project as far as us as actors or something like that, maybe we could even get multiple people on here to answer some questions. Who knows? That'd be kind of cool. Get some other actors on here. We'll see.
Absolutely, I would love that. And hey, it worked. It worked the first time when we said we'll talk to you again when Shenmue 3 is going to be a reality. So we'll talk to you again when you guys are back on the project of Shenmue 3. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds good.
All right, that's going to do it for us, and we'll be back on the Nerdcast this weekend. So tune in for that for some more Shenmue talk. See you later, Katana and Corey. You guys have a nice day.
All right, you too. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
All right.
Good night.